You ready to go? Yeah. If you could just put your hands together again for Jetsunma.
So now we are on this side, 22, 140. These, as you can see, is the realm of the animals. We have snow lions and elephants and seahorses and all sorts of wonderful things. Dragons, I think. Cows, swans, all sorts of things. Anyway, so this is the realm of the animals, which is a realm which we actually cohabit this earth with. We share this earth with the animals. In Buddhism, when we do any prayers or any aspirations, it's always said for the sake of all sentient beings. So all sentient beings means not just human beings, but animals, beings in the waters, in the sky, on the earth, spirits, beings in the hell realms, beings in the higher realms, all beings who have consciousness. A couple of years ago, we got this consignment, a surprise consignment of a group of very young girls from remote areas, which we weren't expecting, but we got a busload of them. And after a few weeks, somebody asked one of these girls, they by this time had become nuns. She was about 7, I guess. They asked her, "Oh, isn't it wonderful? Now you've joined this nunnery and you can pray for your mummy and daddy and for your family." And the little nun said, "In this nunnery, we pray for all sentient beings." So stuff that. So it's very important to remember that when we're praying for all these beings and all the whole cosmos, because we don't know what's out there. We only know what we can see through our very, limited 5 senses. But, there's so much going on out there that we have no idea about. But, if they're out there, may they be well and happy. So the animal realm is a realm we can see. These are animals, not just domesticated animals, wild animals, all the beings who live in the oceans and the rivers, all the beings who live in the air, like the birds, all the insects, all the microscopic beings, all these beings non-human. So it's considered to be that it is a lower realm, not because animals are not very lovely, but because they are even more, we are also animals, but we have some choice in dealing with our habitual tendencies. We have an intelligence. All sentient beings have Buddha nature. And because they have Buddha nature, which means that the ultimate level, they also have this very pure, luminous awareness, this unborn awareness. So therefore they can be reborn as humans. They can be reborn in the higher realms. They can be born in the lower realms. They're all part of the cycle. It's not that they're going to be animals forever. But while they're caught in the animal realm, it is, although they can be very kind, although they can be very compassionate, although they're often very devoted, but still their ability for analytical thinking is very restricted. And for that reason, it's regarded as being a lower birth than being, a human being. On the other hand, in the Jataka stories, which are very popular stories of the Buddha in his former lives, when he was a bodhisattva working his way up to becoming Siddhartha Gautama and a Buddha. Many of the lifetimes he was depicted as being an animal, a rabbit, an elephant, a monkey, and so forth. Always a male monkey, elephant, and rabbit. Better a rabbit male than a human female, obviously. But nonetheless, anyway, he often was in animal realm. And so, but a very compassionate animal. I mean, again, he is shown as sacrificing himself for the good of others in all these are kind of folk stories, but always with this very self-sacrificing animal, who is the Buddha going through his evolution until he finally took human birth. So the animals, as I say, they all have great potential, and if they realize their potential, they can also get reborn in higher levels. They're not stuck forever, evoluting only in an animal realm. They can become human, which may or may not be a good thing. But also, on our plane, people who think that life is all about being comfortable, and they like food, they like being comfortable, they like dulling their senses by looking at kind of useless programs on television. I mean, not the useful programs, the useless ones. And I just thinking about food and sex and comfort, and just the animal instincts, then if that's all they think that life is about, is just being comfortable, then, I mean, I would advise them to pray very hard to come back next time as a pet poodle. Because if you consider they are groomed, they are loved, they are fed, they don't have to work, they don't have to have brilliant conversation. They have a great life. If that's all you think that it's for, then why not be a pet? You go into any house, you know which is the most comfortable seat because the cat's on it. So if we think that our human birth is more than just simply being comfortable and being petted, then we have to develop that quality in our mind which makes us considered to be superior to the animals, which is our intelligence. So, I mean, the animal realm is considered to be, so people can go down as well as up, according to the Buddhist cosmology. If we just live animal lives, we're likely to be reborn back as an animal. If animals show intelligence and great love and great devotion, and often if they have a kind of real connection, for example, with their human owners, it could very well be next time they get reborn as humans. I mean, as I say, this is a cycle. It's going up and down the whole time. Nobody's stuck forever in one position. You're always being, also, in daily life, sometimes we're in the animal realm, sometimes we're in the Preta realm, sometimes we're in the hell realm, sometimes we're in the heaven realms, even in one day, depending on our mood and our feeling and our activities. So we're constantly changing. This is not something static. And so also in from the point of view of animals have the potential to go up and they have the potential to go down. And likewise, all these beings have potentials to move out of their situation into a higher one or descend into a low one. It's like snakes and ladders. I mean, the snakes are very long down and the ladders are very short. But, you never know each throw whether you're going up or you're going down. It depends on our actions. So those are the animals. And then I have to keep a track of time. We have lots of time. Good. So the animal realm is important for us because it's something which we share our planet with, that we are conscious of, that the animals, and animals themselves have great potential to evolve. It's not that they, some animals just naturally, you can tell with your animals also, some animals are much more intelligent, much more empathetic, and some are not, just as with people. And so, animals also are beings. They're alive. They have feelings. They have emotions. And therefore, we shouldn't just also take them for granted and treat them as if they were chairs and tables for our convenience. So people are very loving towards their pets. I mean, in New York, there are some streets which have more pet shops than they do beauty parlors. But nonetheless, those same people will go out and order steak, for lunch and not think, what are they eating? In Buddhism, of course, there is no, except in certain Mahayana schools, there's nothing against what you eat. Buddhist ethics is based on non-harming, not killing, stealing, and so forth. But there is nothing about dietary restrictions or what you wear. But nonetheless, if we think about what is non-harming, and we recognize that all beings have Buddha nature, and that all beings have feelings, and just as we have feelings, all beings feel fear, all beings feel love, all beings feel, anxiety and devotion and so forth. I mean, especially the higher animals. And, if we don't recognize that these are living beings, that maybe at some lifetime I also was a cow or whatever, sheep. And when I was a cow or a sheep, my life was very precious to me. As the Buddha said, to all beings, their life is most precious. Then, we have to think, what are we doing when we just happily sit and eat them? And, because by buying the meat, by eating the meat, you are supporting the meat industry. If people didn't buy the meat, nobody would raise the cattle and sheep to be slaughtered. But people who've worked in abattoirs talk about, unbelievable. I mean, the terror of knowing these animals know what's going to happen to them, and they're terrified. But nothing can be done. And you're eating that terror which goes into their system. It floods their system. And then we're eating that and poisoning ourselves with that terror which they must all be feeling. And the way they're brought up. It's not even like mostly they live out nice lives and then at the end they're killed. Nowadays, it's a whole industry. I mean, it's a horror industry. I mean, even Tibetans who are pretty heavy meat eaters, I mean, they're pretty carnivorous. But now, more and more, first the nunneries, then the monasteries, and now many lay people have become vegetarian. And I mean, when you consider the big monasteries, like down south, where they have 10,000 monks, to a monastery, how many animals were slaughtered for feeding those monks, especially during festivals. And that stopped. And there are groups of young Tibetans who go around showing these films of how animals are raised in these, these animal farms for slaughter. And even the Tibetans who are pretty hardcore, then toddle up the hill and take vows from the Lama not to eat meat. Because they never think, you see it, especially in the West, it's all nicely laid out, on the slab, all packaged all nicely. You're not thinking, what is that actually that we're eating? That was a living being that wanted life. And it had misery all through its life, and then it died in terror just because of our greed. So, personally, I don't see any possible excuse for people who talk about compassion to eat animal flesh. I mean, honestly, more and more, I think there is no excuse. You're just greedy. There's no reason. I mean, in Tibet, yes, there was not much happening. You know, even though some lamas were vegetarian mostly, you know, there was no alternatives much for if you didn't eat meat, where you're getting your protein. But in the West, we have 10,000 things to eat. Why eat food which causes suffering to other beings? And then call ourselves compassionate. Sit down and meditate on loving kindness, and then go off and, you know, eat a plate of, you know, whatever you're eating, lobster. So, we should have compassion for the animal realm too. And as much as possible, recognize that we have much more in common with animals than we imagine. That if we were in that state of being an animal, how we would feel about the way we are treated by human beings, who kill so indiscriminately and have no feeling of compassion and empathy towards beings who can't tell them how they feel. I mean, if animals could talk, would we still eat them? Because they can only make sounds which we don't understand what it means, we think it's okay. But it's not okay. As Bernard Shaw said, when he was a 19th century Irish writer, and he was a vegetarian, which was very weird in those days in England. And he was asked why he was a vegetarian, and he would say, animals are my friends, and I don't eat my friends. And that's it. You know, what have we got a quarrel with animals for? So why are we killing them? So we should have compassion for the animal realm and try to help them and preserve them and give them a healthy environment in which to live as much as possible, because we share this planet with them. And they have as much right as we have to this planet. It's their planet as well as ours. Why do we think that it's our planet and we can do what we like with it? Because look what we're doing to it, human beings.